we generate the response correctly, February 24. So if we go in here, the response that we get, this is the AI optimization, so that was correct. And also Platinum package, it says that I'm unable to find this specific information, which is basically avoid the hallucination. That was correct. 2 different streams, and here is the concatenated of it. And this one is actually using OpenAI structure, but again the Gemini, so we see that the structure is exactly the same. Welcome everyone to the channel, AI Fun Fact for All. For those of you who are new to this channel, my name is Pedram Magan. I have a PhD in computer science, and in this channel we'll talk about AI and machine learning and how we can use it in order to improve our efficiency. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to use the Gemini API in order to do simple chat, describe an image, and how to chat with the PDF. If you have seen the previous video, I talked about the exact same thing but using the OpenAI API. So if you haven't seen that, I will put a link in the description and the comments of this video so you can go and watch that. But for this one, we want to see that what's the difference between them and which one is easier. So let me know in the comment which one do you think is sounds easier and more straightforward. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. The first one is to do a simple chat. So we have seen that how we can do it with OpenAI. I'm going to show it in here how we can actually use the same OpenAPI and just use the API key from Gemini and no change in the code at all, and also how we can use the Gemini from Google, a specific API to do the generation. Here is the code. I put the link of this code in GitHub in the description of the video, so you can go and basically download it and use it for yourself. We have the same concepts in here inside the Gemini API. We have the chat, this one that we want to talk about. We have the file, which we want to work with the file, and then the images that ask about the images, and we have some sample image and PDF. So inside the chat, as I mentioned, I want to do the first one with the exact OpenAI platform, and then do it with Gen AI. So I have put the requirements that you need also in the requirement.txt, so you can basically install it and use it in your own computer. First, about the Google specific API, we're gonna define the client as genai.client, and then we just pass the API key that we have loaded in here. And then inside the content, we're gonna put the role as user and get the prompt of the user and pass it into the text. And then here I'm gonna do something like streaming the text. So streaming the text means that you're gonna get the tokens as soon as they become available, so you don't basically need to wait. Same as how you're working with your ChatGPT, you see the prompts are generated as you basically interacting with it, and you don't have to wait all the way until everything is ready and then you see the prompt. So here it will help us to do that. That is called like a streaming. So here we generate a general config, which there they actually try to provide the system instruction there, same as before. I'm gonna say Opus Pro assistance and respond in this format, Opus Pro agent. And then here are some parameters, and then after that we're gonna generate the content stream. Okay, so we give the model, the content that we have, and the config, and then I'm gonna use the pprint. So there's a pretty print that try to generate the response, and also I'm concatenating all of the output and returning at the end, so we can see the whole response at the end. Here is the second way to call it, which is basically using the exact ChatGPT API. The only thing that you need to do is that to change the client. So the client is going to be OpenAI, the API key, this one is going to be your Gemini API key, but the only thing that you need to change is to add this base URL. And for this base URL, this one basically will try to use the Gemini API, and the whole concepts that we are using is basically going to be a wrapper, and then the Gemini will try to be the one that is answering. But just mentioning here that this is not going to be applied for all of the different assistants, so take it as a grain of salt. So consider that, for example, the beta assistance and so on, for example, in the file manipulation is not available, and the rest is exactly the same. So we're gonna have chat completion, and then give the model the messages and the topic and temperature, and then we're gonna get the content. So response choices, message, content, and then response. So here I'm gonna call the Gemini Flash, use the message, what is capital of Canada. I'm gonna get it from the Gemini, a specific one, and then I'm also gonna get from ChatGPT. So here, let's try to run the code and see the result. In here, you can see that we have get the result like this, so up and then up as per agent, and then the capital of Canada is Ottawa. So this is exactly what we'll see in three different cases in the three different streams, and here is the concatenated of it. And this one is actually using OpenAI structure, but again the Gemini. So we see that the structure is exactly the same. Now let's move on to the next one. So for this one, I'm gonna look at the images. For images, we're gonna again use basically the ChatGPT. Why not? Is available and we have already worked on it. So as we said before, you're gonna describe the client same as before, but you're just gonna define a base URL, and you're gonna say that okay, this is the base URL, so it's already understand that okay, this is coming from Gemini. So we already have talked about if you have image, we need to encode it to base 64 to get it if it is local. And previously we have discussed and said that if it is available on the internet, you can just pass the URL, and if it is not available, you encode it and then create the content in this base 64 content, and this will gonna generate the result for that. In here, we will see that this not gonna work, the URL one, so you cannot just give access to the URL. This is probably because of the consideration of Google itself. It doesn't want to have for example access to a specific file and so on, so about the safety constraints, so it's not available doing your URL. The workaround is that you download it and then use the base 64. So we're gonna also see that. So I put a try and accept, so if it didn't happen, we're gonna see that what was the result. And here we can see that our model is Gemini 2.4, and then we're gonna have the image URL. This is the image of the cat that we saw before, and then this is the local image, and we're gonna describe the first one. I'm gonna pass the local and then the URL one. So let's try to run and see what the result is. In here we can see that the local one actually provide the results, and comparing to the previous one, if you watch it, let me know that which one do you think is more descriptive content. So it says that show a golden retriever puppy. And then for the URL one, it actually generated error, so it says that it could not access it, invalid argument. As I mentioned, so there is a workaround, and you can download it and then obviously do that, but basically it was redundant, so I didn't do that. So I just wanted to show that when you are using the ChatGPT, it's not that you have access to all of the content from the ChatGPT, and that actually is very more important in our third one, which is accessing the file, which I'm gonna use the Gemini API itself. And the last but not least is to chat with the file. In this specific example, this is going to be a PDF. We saw that there are different cases. We can use it with the LangChain, or we can use the OpenAI API for that and create a specific assistant to get access and access the tools for it. So we saw it was very complicated. Now let's take a look and see how Gemini is gonna do that. So we get the API and we're gonna create a client directly from the Google, so Gemini client, and then we're gonna define the model, the PDF pass, up.pdf. We're gonna create a retriever of the PDF, which is gonna pass lib.pass to generate the basically, instead of the local, create a absolute value for the path, and then after that, same as before, we're gonna upload the file, so client of file upload, and then we're gonna give you. So now the client actually have access to the file, and then inside the user prompt we're gonna say answer the question based on the attached PDF, and then we have two questions, so exactly same question as before. Optimization, the key to start optimization, when it was published, and what is the price of this, which is actually not inside the file. We're going to see that if it can actually provide it. So in the first one, we're going to ask the user prompt and then concatenate the question one, and the whole thing is going to be like client model, generate content model, and then the content is going to be sample file and then the prompt, and then inside the config you can put the config, which is completely up to you. But you saw the whole thing of how to generate the file, how to access the tooling, how to consent is simplified to this. So this is very, very game changing, and I truly believe this is completely something else. So the content includes a sample file and the prompt, so this can also be included inside your content. So here we're gonna see the question and then the response, and after that I'm gonna ask the second question. I'm gonna see the response. So let's try to run this and see what's the result. And also, if you remember, there was a difference in timing. So if you remember, the OpenAI took a lot of time in order to generate the response, but this one I believe is a lot faster. Now, so here, taking a look, we generate the response correctly, February 24. So if you go in here, the response that we get, this is the AI optimization, so that was correct. And also Platinum package, it says that I'm unable to find this specific information, which is basically avoid the hallucination. That was correct. And there you have it, guys. We went over Gemini API and tried to work with simple chat, asking about an image and also asking about the file, and we tried to do it with the OpenAI API or using the Google API documentation itself. If you enjoyed this type of video, make sure to like, and more importantly, subscribe to the channel so you can see more videos like this. If you want to see more videos similar to this, I have created this one before, which was using exactly the same thing with the OpenAI API, and you're gonna see that what's the difference there and how the result was gotten from there. And you can also see another video which I talk about the Llama stack and how we can look at the different approach on loading the file and getting the result from the latest Llama results. Thanks for watching, and see you until the next one.